one of the singers was writing and also brought in a studio singer and brought in the first lead singer to sing on that album. And I was going to walk into the studio to learn some of the songs, record some vocals and backup vocals, and then lay down percussion, sleigh, from the sleigh bells around my ankles to lay down a percussion set throughout. If you listen to Macho Man, you can hear the bells, the sleigh bells in the song Macho Man.
See, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so after that was done, and of course I walked into the studio. I didn't walk in with just like a jacket. I walked in full gear. And, I lit the sage and the eagle feather, and I blessed the studio, and they were looking at me like, okay, all right. And then finally it was Jacques, after that was done, he realized, no, I don't want to make this a music project. I need to get this guy and get other guys in characters like a cowboy, like a construction worker, let's put a male group together. So he set off to do the male version of the Ritchie family, which was the Village People.
Now, everyone understanding this is pre to any boy band yet.
Pre to any boy band, pre to any way that you audition. You audition the old way through Variety magazine or Backstage. There was an ad placed, and they were looking for macho types. And so he did auditions. And I went to the New York ones, not the ones in Miami and not the ones in San Francisco. But he ended up choosing more of the players that became the characters in the group, all from New York. But there was one test run with a bunch of other guys that he grabbed from the clubs and plucked them out of bars. And suddenly it was originally on the first American Bandstand, it was just the lead singer, Alex the biker, that became the GI, and me. And there were another 5 other guys, and it was a disaster. It was like we did San Francisco, Hollywood. It was so bad that Jacques...
On American Bandstand.
On American Bandstand. And Jacques then immediately fired all those guys. And then we had the big auditions. And when we were having the auditions, when it came down to choosing the ones that auditioned, like Glenn, the late Glenn Hughes, God bless him. What a great guy.
Let me show a picture of the first promo.
What a great guy.
This is the first promo of...
That was the first thing that we did on American Bandstand. And notice there were only 3 characters. There were 4. The biker, that was Lee Mouton, the late David Foster and Mark Musler as the cowboy and the construction worker. There's the original GI standing there with his arms crossed. And then Burris Whitehead in the middle with the little beanie cap. He was also one of the songwriters on the album. And then, of course, there's the first lead singer who wasn't a cop yet, Victor Willis. I was the only one where they said they wanted to build a group around me. When they told me the idea, I thought it was really stupid. He showed me a drawing.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Tell us what that's like. So what do you mean it's stupid? Go ahead. Tell us.
No, I went to their office and I saw that there was rendering.
Felipe, come sit down, Felipe. Let me show you. There
were renderings and drawings, and I was drawing, and you saw, the little mic stands, and then they had some with some caps and this and that, and I just stared at it, and I said, "This is really stupid."
and I could hear them going,
"What?" I was forever rolling my eyes with them like this, like.
What do you mean, stupid?
I was always rolling my, because they were, they thought different. They were French, and everything about America was wonderful and c'est la vie and all that. And they also, because Jacques Morali's birthday was on the 4th of July as well. So that's why he loved New York so much. And so while all of that is being said and done, and all the guys were chosen, David Hodo, the construction worker, Broadway dancer, he had just finished a show called Jazz Something with Lola Falana, and that didn't last. And so he got the part of the construction worker. And then Randy actually showed up, Randy Jones.
You see, I have the picture right. There we go.
What a cowboy hat. That was in Holland.
Right, but I just want to show the people that.
Yeah, that was in Holland. You know, I was really smart. I would take my records and I would wrap them in hotel towels, and I would take them home with me. And the record companies would tell them, "Oh, we'll mail them to you." And a lot of times, those records never arrived.
No, you had to bring them home.
I brought mine home.
So you got Randy there. Then who was the construction guy at
in
this?
In the red checkered shirt. That's David.
David. Okay.
David has a wicked sense of humor. He's very smart.
And then you got Glenn as the biker, right? Glenn Hughes.
He went to the audition on a dare. He needed to dare to go through the dare of a bet that, oh, I bet you won't go to this audition. And he showed up on his motorcycle and walked in there with black denim jeans and black shirt and black cap. And when we saw that mustache, we just realized, oh, look at that. That's crazy. Glenn has the second world's famous mustache.
Yeah.
Tom Selleck, then Glenn Hughes. And I think Freddie Mercury's up there on that list too.
And definitely nobody had a mustache to look like that.
The whole thing came, no, you're right. The way the whole thing came together and the way it was then sold to Casablanca as a concept group, a gay concept group for the middle America, for them to digest. And the songs were all tongue-in-cheek, and the show was choreographed where we actually didn't take it serious. We actually made more fun of ourselves than in truth. But we also didn't disclose. We drew the line. I drew the line when it came to my personal life. I didn't want to talk about it in my professional life, and certainly not on TV. But at the time, we were living in different times, not like today. Today, I can say on television, I'm gay, and I love it.
Back then, no way.
No, I was like...
But explain it to somebody who's very young now. Why was it that way?
I was very disciplined and very in the sense of, theater and the dance and the ballet and all that. And I was more disciplined about the show and my being on stage, sharing the stage with other people. I didn't really want to talk about my life in that regard.
So the first album, San Francisco and all that, you guys get the Casablanca situation. Did Neil Bogart meet all of you, or it just got signed? Did you have to all sign the actual contract, or
we all signed? Yeah, we signed. No, we had a production contract with the producers, but the producers signed the contract with the label.
Okay.
But then they did that around the world with labels all over the world, so that when our music exploded in the United States, they also exploded in other countries and went double platinum and platinum, and the royalties were actually quite shocking. There's so much money like that to come to a young man, and so that's where immediately you have to learn how to process that situation. Do I spend it all now, or do I invest and put money away so that when I'm an old man, I have something to fall back on? Now your mindset doesn't say that. You want to spend money.
So that's what right. So what are you thinking in the beginning? What was?
I did both. I was disciplined in the spending, but I also was very generous to family and friends. Very, very generous. But I also realized that rolling into my late 30s, it was time to stop bringing all the expenses down. I used to have 4 cars at one point. My dad said, "What do you need 4 cars for? Your butt can only drive one of them at a time." So I started getting rid of the cars. But the thing is that if you really surround yourself with a really good lawyer and a good accountant, that's all you need, and then eventually a financial advisor.
Right, of course,
because you're in it for the long haul. And the one person that told me early on in my life, and I'll never forget it. In San Francisco on Corbett Street, sitting on the roof of his home with Sylvester. We were sipping on some champagne and we're overlooking the city. And he says to me, "Child, save your money." And I looked at him like, "Really?" He said, "Save your money, save your coins, because you don't know if this will end tomorrow." And that was something that I always stayed with me.
Miss Sylvester told you?
Sylvester told me, save your money.
She says,
Put the duckies away. You know, you don't have to. You can go out and be fabulous. You don't need
sipping champagne.
That's right. And he owned his own house. He owned this little nice.
Feeling fabulous. And he turns to you and says, save all your coins.
We were talking about the industry of where we were today, that we couldn't believe that we were both young and famous and all this. And so we were like approaching and heading into the AIDS era. So we were scared and we were nervous and talking about life. And in retrospect, sitting on the roof of his house and talking about everything that is actually happening with us. And then also out of that conversation, he said, you know, the one thing that I know that we have is that you're fortunate enough to be in this business. So you take your money and save your money. And I said, oh my God, that was just great advice.
Now, 1976 into 77, I guess this is pre to everything really starting to take off, right? Around that time?
Yeah, but you kind of really didn't know it yet.
Okay, so
we were traveling so much.
Okay, Felipe, time stamp it for us. You're dancing at places like the Anvil, going to 12 West, all that stuff. Paradise Garage was just about ready to start, 77. When do you really meet Jacques Morali? When exactly around is this?
Early 77.
Early 77. Okay. So
literally January of 77.
Right before Saturday Night Fever starts. This is even before Saturday Night Fever began. Because in December of 77, the movie comes out and the explosion begins. But
right.
So January 77, you meet Jacques. He wants to bring you in. You go in and da-da-da. When do you start recording? That right away within that time frame?
Within that time frame, when he said, "You sing," I said, "I sing," and he said, "Well, sing this for me." Okay, and then you're going to go in and sing this track. Where there were other voices already recorded on there, and then I want you to do percussion. I want you to do percussion and the sound of sleigh bells in the studio. And then the second album, when they finally put the group together and we went on and set off to record the second album, with now the lead singer writing at the helm, he didn't write the first album. Other people wrote that first album. But then Macho Man, T West, I Am What I Am, all these songs on that album. Soon as the album was being mixed, there was a break. They sent me off to Paris to choreograph a couple of songs for the Crazy Horse Saloon, where the women there are beautiful and they dance naked. They only wear high heels, and the light projected on their bodies is what they're wearing. And so while they were figuring out the show and the act, because now they're going on 3 albums, then I returned, and then we put the show together, and off we went on the road with a band immediately, like in clubs on the floor, dance floor. They would set up a band.
See, we didn't know that. We didn't know you were in Paris doing Crazy Horse Saloon, choreographing the show.
Well, they sent me to get me out of the way so they could focus on these guys. One of these guys, the choreographer wanted to know, all right, Felipe's character is who he is, and that's already real. It's a real thing. It's a living thing. It's established. It's embellished. There's not much to do with him except just choreograph him into steps. The other guys, how do they walk? How are they going to act? How's the construction worker going to act? And so there was character breakdown with all of that. And the guys brought in their personalities and injected their personalities with what they were looking for. Jacques was brilliant at that.
Felipe, was Jacques Morali rich?
He was well off. He did well. They did. A lot of his investment came from his partner. Henri Bololo was the attorney, and there's always an attorney somewhere.
That's what I was wondering.
There's always an attorney out there somewhere.
Somebody's funding somebody's funding something in the business.
Yeah.
So tell us the precking. So, because he's flying back and forth, he's in the studio, he's doing. I'm guessing, if I remember correctly, you working at a Sigma in New York at that time,
and also in Philadelphia.
Sigma Philly and Sigma New York,
Yeah,
right?
because they had the studio band was Gypsy Lane, and then we had the proteges of Gypsy Lane. They were called Bittersweet. And so we took these young black boys from Philadelphia and we went out on the road with the group, and you have 5 gay guys and 1 straight guy, Village People, the cop, and 5 gay guys. And we went out and we burned rubber. We literally went from the north of Maine all the way down the eastern seaboard and stopping off at Cashbox or Tower Records. I forget the other, Peaches. These are record stores that were like if people can remember Virgin Records. Well, we had Tower Records, and so then we would do radio, we would do TV, sound check, and then the show, and then back on the bus, and then the same thing all over again. And we did that for months. But that while we were doing that, we could see on Record World and Billboard, you could see the record sales going up through the path that we would take and cut across the United States.
So pre-Saturday Night Fever, things were bubbling, but I guess after Saturday Night Fever movie hit, I guess it must have exploded for you guys.
With YMCA, that really
Thank you.
That cracked that wall. It cracked that ceiling. And then suddenly, it was the song that just, what does it mean? There are many meanings to it.
So tell us. So
the accurate meaning of it, the way it happened, was that this needed a filler song. But the thing is that because of the gym, the particular gym, the McBurney gym on 23rd Street, had the reputation in the city that there was action going on in the steam rooms and stuff like that. So Jacques knowingly, and he loved YMCA when he found out first what it was. And I mean, it's not to take away from the organization, because they actually had people there that were living there because they couldn't afford to live in rent stabilized buildings in New York. Rent was expensive. People would go there to work out. A large contingent of the gay community would go there and work out there, and they had fun there. And so basically the song Qu'est-ce que c'est YMCA, and they told him, young man. And in 5 minutes, they wrote the song, like literally that quick. And you would always say, we're going to write a new song. No, bitch, you're going to write the song. I'm just going to stand here in the sidelines and just watch you. And so then next thing you know, he's like, he's just sort of singing and with this very quick repartee, young man, da, 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 young man. And I was like, oh my God, my eyes would roll into my head. I would go, another stupid song.
You're saying so tired, right? You go, this is so freaking
another stupid song. Please, God, help me. Get me out of this thing. And then don't you know that once the album was delivered and it was sent to Neil Bogart, he listened to the whole album and he took the single and said, this is the single, not the women. We were singing about the women of LA, then the movies, and Lola for this and that. No, Nick, not the late Neil Bogart made that song what it is today.
So in you saying you worked at, okay, I gotta, because people want to know this part too. Sigma and recording that album, was it the people who worked on the Tramps records, like Earl Young and them on the drums? Was it the same people? Was it the same machine that was behind?
I don't think that Earl Young played on any of the group's music, but that many of these groups were working at that recording studio. Oh, you had giants in there. And then you had the likes of like Richie Rivera mixing for Warner Records. You had huge, ask Ray Caviano.
Before everybody know, hang on, Richie Rivera played at Flamingos, everybody. He was a well-known DJ at that time. So he's got to let everybody know. He said Richie Rivera. So those are your very young.
Yeah, the late Richie Rivera. He actually did a lot of mixing at Sigma Sound. In fact, they did the first, like, the disco rendition of Hallelujah 2000.
That's right.
And
yes.
Had me go in there and lay down percussion. And so I did. And so, I was also working as a musician as well, cutting other studio work, because I didn't know this thing with this group is popular.
You're still on that fence, right? You're like, this is
I was
not
on the fence, and that's why I guess I ended up staying so long, is that I ended up realizing the magnitude and how blessed I was, and everything that's been given to me, and the worldwide fans of really how kind they and really the loyalty that they have for an artist.
Can you clarify the magnitude of what happens after Saturday Night Fever and everything? I mean, it's funny to hear him say how whack and tired this stuff is, because some of us who clubbed, who know the music, have all kind of said the same thing. Some of the records are too commercial, too slapstick in a way. But when this group hits the front of Rolling Stone, for God's sake, you got to say to yourself, this is pretty massive.
That album that cover almost didn't happen. There was a real big altercation. No one was going to do it. Bill King, like, oh, what am I going to do? They called producers and they said there's going to be no cover. And they literally flipped out and said, if you guys don't shoot this cover, you're all fired. And we shot.
Wait.
If you put it up again,
go ahead.
That the reason why I'm pushing in and David's face is the construction worker turning away, they were spraying water with a big fan.
Oh, God.
To cool us down, because it was not, and that's thus the story in part, which the rest will stay in my book.
What do you mean? Wait, hang on.
The details. I can't.
Wait, don't go into the details. You guys were arguing at that point?
There was a huge altercation. It was crazy, yeah. But a road crew and one of the members, and then another member it was just not a good day. And we were just, that's it, we quit.
And who made the call and said you're all fired?
The photographer said, we're not going to have this album, this cover's not going to happen. And Neil Bogart nearly, but ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for the real story when I do my book.
It's all right.
I'm working on stuff, but right now I'm chronicling my life through my disco podcast show.
Hang on.
Okay.
Everybody, we got a piece from his book, because his publicist sent over this from the Felipe book that they're working on. And look how he would come out on stage. Isn't that hot or what? Look at that.
No, do you see the bells? Look at the bells.
Look at the bells. He's got the bells right there. Look at that.
That's like 4.5 pounds each night on each ankle. I had legs that could kill. I could choke somebody. I think I did. I was pretty famous for that.
But here's the thing now.
I did have a ball. I really did have a ball, and was enjoying everything. But up until that moment when the industry suddenly it became too much, the music, disco duck, and all of this.
Oh, wait, Felipe.
It became too much. The one incident that made everything crumble was the disco burning party at Comiskey Park with the DJ Steve Dahl from the Chicago.
You're clear on it. He was a Steve Dahl.
I spoke to him. He was my first episode on the Disco Chronicles, and I didn't think that he was going to say yes. But my segment producer pitching, how are you going to start your show? How are you going to do the Chronicles, the Disco Chronicles, where I pull the curtains back on the good, on the bad, and the ugly. And that was by far the ugliest moment in our time, because suddenly July 19, 1979 at Comiskey Park, this 24-year-old guy, like me, 24, on the opposite sides of the spectrum. I'm with a popular group with 2 albums getting ready to come out. No, sorry, 3. You had the Live and Sleazy, and the soundtrack of the movie. So this stunt that he perpetrated with the Chicago White Sox, they told everyone, all the fans, bring a disco record, bring and borrow your mother's, your sister's disco record, get into the park for free, and beer's 99.
But here's the thing about that now.
Threw the records in the fire and they burned it. It turned into a riot.
The records they brought they were showing us were Isaac Hayes, Black Records, Gay Records. There was nothing in there that was truly disco. It was more like
They threw in the Village People albums.
Well, the Village People albums, yeah, the Village People, and even
and
like
they threw in some Donna Summer album because I actually got a hold. But I did have him on my show, and I did say that that caused a chain reaction where that was considered, and it was like like burning books, and it also looked racially motivated because disco music is a Black and urban Latino, gay Latino and Black music, and so. Because he was a rock and roller playing rock music, and his show was changed the format to disco. So his gig was he would play a disco song, but then he dragged the record off by the knee, and then suddenly the Chicago White Sox. But they used him as an scapegoat because at that moment the entire industry panicked, radio panicked, and then disco sucks movement came in. And then the industry panicked, and then there was a collapse of the entire genre of music.
Well, here's the thing now, Felipe.
Of disco music.
Here's the thing about disco. It became so big that you have Frank Sinatra, Ethel Merman, and these type of people trying to record disco records, which kind of made it a joke. Johnny Mathis, too.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It became suddenly, it was watershed.
Oh.
Suddenly everyone had to do it, and it was like, oh my God, this is awful. And then when the movie came out, it was even worse.
Okay, so let me show the clip now. Okay, everybody, I was able to pull a clip from his Hollywood production when he was in the movie. Check this out. I took the sound out, so don't start sending me messages. Oh, there's no sound. There's a reason why. If we play audio, we get clamped. On Facebook.
Shut you down.
They shut us down like we didn't pay the rent. So here we go.
People hated him after he did that to me. Hit me in the mouth. He never touched me.
It looked like in the movie.
I used to say that. And he would turn and look at me and go, "I'm sorry, I didn't hit you."
First of all, was that all shot?
I mean, it was funny at the time.
Was that all shot in New York or part of it in California?
That was Los Angeles. The exterior shots, like the village, were done interior in Los Angeles. Cities, streets that looked like the village. And then exteriors were done in New York the summer that we were shooting. And also another movie that was shooting on the other side of town was Cruising with Al Pacino. And that was also a very dark movie about the gay lifestyle. And so you had one bubblegum Hollywood movie that was just what they were doing was Casablanca at that point, they were homogenizing everything that the group was. They were stripping away that bad boy kind of attitude that we had and were cleaning it, polishing it, making it squeaky clean for Hollywood. And it wasn't working out. The movie really failed in the US. Because we didn't need all those actors and people to help us. We could have carried the movie up by ourselves. It would have been more interesting,
So you're talking about Al Pacino. I'm going to bring this up. I remember in one scene in that movie, he's dancing. I don't remember where it was. If it was supposed to be at the bar down in the
Ramron.
Yes, and obviously it goes like this, and they're doing this. And he gives it to the guy. And what he was doing was, everybody, there was a funny drug called poppers.
Oh. Yeah, but in the handkerchief, wasn't it ethyl chloride?
I'm sorry, ethyl chloride, right. So he'd be like going like this. And then he'd go like this. Here, Felipe, put it on.
They tie them together and they spray it and inhale it.
Right. So in the movie, they show that. It was like, wow, what is he doing? Now, if you're not clubbing or anything, you don't really know what the hell that's going. You think he's cleaning or wiping his face. No, they're all feeling right and happy. But see, that's what we're talking about, how the change was beginning, how things were, you were there in a culture change as well. Major culture change. I don't know if you realize that, but you were a big part of the culture change. You took from the nightclubs and made it commercial and viable to the United States and the world, where people in middle America never experienced any of that stuff, what was going on, like you said, in New York nightlife. And he casted a bunch of people to play the parts in real life, on stage, on TV. And look, did you do Love Boat too? Did you do Love Boat as well? Love Boat as well? Did you do the Love Boat show? Did you do that as well?
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. You guys are on all the Channel 7 shows. There
was too much television, though, at the time. It was too much, way too much. The Married with Children, Love Boat, too much TV. It was too much. But then again, that was our only outlet. Now today you have social media, and today anyone that can sing well and looks good and can drop a video and it sells or streams, over 100,000 times, they suddenly become overnight stars, and they didn't really do any of the work, the discipline of what it takes to go to the studio, to record, to rehearse, to meet with people to get styled and all that, and how do you go out and accessibility to your fans. So a lot of artists don't have that, so they can become. And Cardi B speaks big on that. She speaks big on that, and she, she's a smart woman, and she basically has talked about the fact that anybody can be an artist today, just by uploading music, doing the video, hitting send, and boom, they're on their way.
True. But even more so, we're finding that you could be a social influencer, have no talent, and have millions of people watching you and do something stupid and become a superstar.
Yeah.
With no talent, no dancing lessons, no understanding how to do musical instrument, none of that. Vocal training, no acting, and do something silly and be an overnight sensation. I've seen it all the time on YouTube. It's crazy.
Now, there was something you said earlier that, to me, what everything that was done with the group and where we went and where we took this thing, that really wasn't supposed to last that long. It's no small feat to actually make something that came out of the ghettos of the village to make it a worldwide trademark name with music. I mean, that now it will last forever. And so it was no small feat doing that and putting that work in. And I have no regrets. I'm happy that I did it. And so now looking back, from the outside looking in again now, I can now take note that I have to say that all of it was satisfied, regardless of whichever way it went or how the chips fell.
Okay, so we'll get to that in a second, but the first part was 1979, Kaminsky Park. Post that all happening, like I heard Nile Rodgers say, the following weeks were going to get real dark for everybody. What happened with all you guys? What did you all do? I mean, it was like, you got the albums coming out, disco sucks, the whole thing, the whole...
We had to trash both 3 albums, literally throw them in the garbage. That's what I was trying to make and speaking to Steve Dahl in our interview, which is on my YouTube page, the Disco Chronicles. I said, you realize that a lot of the hard work and money invested into these albums, you have 3 albums. You have a live album done at the Greek Theater, and the preparation of a week of rehearsals and wiring and sound checks and all that. And then you have the Sleazy album, which was the full recorded album. So you had a live and sleazy album, which was a duo. It opened up like there's 2 albums there, and then you had the soundtrack of the movie. So you had literally over $1 million worth of music, maybe more, that suddenly had to be trashed. But with the group, with the global fan base that we had, we were able to move around the world while disco was like suddenly shutting down in the United States. And then hip hop started to then suddenly reemerge. And then suddenly was now the birth of a new music. And early hip hop, I love me some early hip hop,
Sure. But then here we go. So, because Europe always embraced dance music. It never stopped. So even though we had the backlash, Europe kept you guys going. When did it really start to kind of drop off for you all, as you know, shows and everything, like slow down? Because everybody has that moment, you know.
Well, just because you're not performing in the United States doesn't mean that you're not performing anywhere else in the world. And so we were always somewhere in the world. Like I just did in May of 2017, which was my last tour. I went to Australia for the 39th time. That was my 39th visit in 40 years of a career.
Wow.
So while the group wasn't working and wasn't viable, even the music wasn't, you know, people weren't digging it anymore, we were able to tap into other countries around the world and perform and recorded other albums after that. There were minor successes, not as big as the others were, the 3 or 4 previous albums, but that the others had hits in Italy, like 5 o'clock in the morning, the Renaissance album, which we changed the image. I don't know if we were being spiteful because of the way the industry flipped on us. So we dropped the images and we went and did New Wave Look. Then there was there were several albums after that, but nothing ever really captured that magic, but we still toured. We then moved into casinos, Vegas, casino acts, toured countries. We would, you know, other acts that had big records couldn't get toured, but it was also the stage act was huge. And
right, because
people wanted to see it.
See, here's the thing now. Like, for example, and Bee Gees also, you know, that they were the other counter bands at the same time. As the disco backlash happened, they were getting death threats. They couldn't even perform anywhere.
Well, I was stunned in doing research for the Disco Chronicles and just realizing that when I was getting ready to interview Denny Terrio, who's a really great guy. He's the American-Italian choreographer that gave
John Travolta
all his dance moves. Basically, they didn't get the music till even when they were rehearsing. They were rehearsing the soul R&B records, and the Bee Gees never, in fairness to them, they never saw a script. It was Robert Stigwood that felt that the movie needed a soundtrack and that their soundtrack was perfect for it. But when you really think about it, the movie was very dark. It was racist. It was
homophobic.
Girl got raped in the car. Guy jumped off the bridge. It was a misogynistic. It was really crazy. It wouldn't come out today. They would, and the Bee Gees didn't know that the movie was what it was in subject matter. So for the sake of, once again, the industry wasn't really ever really thinking along the lines of the artists, the way they produce music. Either producers or people in the industry felt it's the best move to make, and it is. And the movie was great because they tuned into John Travolta being sexy and dancing, okay? And so the love affair was there. The music was great. So it was the music and John Travolta that made the movie global.
Meanwhile, he only did it because he wanted to get the other 2 parts of the pictures, Grease and the other one. Like, that was never really meant. That was
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was all like a 3-package deal. We get him for X amount of money.
Yeah, Alan Carr. Yeah, Alan Carr. Oh, that's right, Grease. Yeah,
remember, Grease is the word. All those songs, of Frankie Avalon and all that stuff.
Then Alan Carr did Grease, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was the producer of Can't Stop the Music.
Right. So that's what I'm saying.
That's another disaster and 2 trains that collided. You had 2 flamboyant queens, the late Jacques Morali and Alan Carr collided, and they just didn't see eye to eye what they envisioned for the group. And actually, I wish they would have followed Alan Carr's lead. Now what you have to do, when he showed us the movie in one of the small theaters, and this is what he told us, this is what now your producers have to do. They weren't there. He played the movie for us. This is going to be released. Now, if they just go out, I would have put a brand new tour together and go out big and promote the show with live shows, with a new this. We throw the video up on the stage, and it never happened. I wish that when he mentioned it to them that they would have taken him serious, but they decided, no, we'll just rest on.
So now I saw the thing that Barry Gibb did, the Bee Gees on HBO.
That was great.
Did you see it as well?
I loved it. Yeah.
They mentioned how Paramount said, Robert Stigwood said to Paramount, we're going to work the record in this territory, and I need you to put the billboards up. So as they worked the ballad as the first tune before the big Burn Baby Burn thing happened, they were pushing the Bee Gees in every territory in the United States. And as the single rose to the top, then they put up the billboards with Paramount, Saturday Night Fever. So it was like a chain reaction. But they went on a ballad, not the disco track. How Deep Is Your Love was the first single from the album they pushed.
Oh, was it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I learned that on HBO's special, and I was like, how amazing the marketing. Because how do you penetrate middle America? You don't play a fast song, especially the people in country music. They need those heartbroken songs.
Right. They need
I lost my dog.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. So How Deep Is Your Love? It's like perfect, slow. And then they put the Paramount, Saturday Night Fever billboard up, and boom, what a great strategy.
But the record labels and even Casablanca, they were really huge with their marketing strategy. And they knew how to promote and attack on all fronts with radio, with billboards, with television appearances. And even they would create live situations where they rolled out red carpets. And in a parking lot, boom, we're having a night in Hollywood, So it was an interesting time. But then again, everything was so excessive that everything came to an end. The party had to stop. And it did, sadly, for many others, for one reason or another.
Damn. But we were all lusting over in other words, we lusted over you guys being so famous.
Oh, okay.
In the sense of that, going, shit, we wish we were like that because, fame has a price. Fame does have a price. I mean, your life must have changed. You probably couldn't just go run around and be normal like you were pre to this all exploding.
I could. Somewhat I could.
People weren't chasing you in the streets. Felipe!
Coming out of my gear, I would totally walk through crowds and nothing. Only at times when someone would recognize you, and that's an eerie feeling to be stopped on the street. But then again, it also feels good too.
You like that, right? Isn't it a good feeling? It's a good feeling, though. So you guys tour for many, many years. Like you said, 39 out of 40 years is a long time, with Australia and all that. And you were able to keep going. And we get to the point now, I remember when, don't get angry at me, because I'm going to ask the question. But Victor Willis comes back out of nowhere and things start he wants his masters and he's fighting to, Can't Stop Productions. He's trying to get a grip of everything and everybody. How does that start? Because you guys are touring still.
Well, we were finishing our 40th anniversary tour.
Okay.
And when we returned home, it was suddenly we received the news that the trademark that I was a part of was no longer ours, and that it was now going to the ex-lead singer, and that he had won all his rights to his masters, his publishing, and also the name of the group. They gave it to him. And so it was like shock, and awe. It wasn't pretty. I'm looking back now. I'm much happier than I am now than I was back then.
Oh, I bet.
It was a freaking nightmare. I don't wish trials and litigations on no one. The amount of money that I had to spend to pull myself out, because suddenly the battle was between the two groups. The ones I was with, who are now fighting for the name to get it back. And sadly, once it's given away, you got to let it play out. It is what it is. Things happen for a reason. And for me, I realized I'd stayed too long at the party. Because by then, I already put in 4 lead singers, 3 cowboys, 3 construction workers, and 2 bikers, and forgot to replace myself. So I got pushed out the door. So it wasn't about me. I just got caught in the middle. And the thing is, if I would have stayed with the guys over there that became Kings of Disco, formerly known as the Village People, what does that say to the 40 years I threw into the bucket?
He's like nothing.
And so then I can't call myself an original member.
No.
Because if I were to go with that, and I said, no, I had a good run. It's time to go. And you know, looking back now, I was able to really do 2 things that were very smart in play for me. And I always say this to people. I didn't discuss it during that time of what was going on and how dark it was. I didn't talk about it on social media. I let the chips fall where they may. And the way it ended and what came out of it was basically I'm the only one that walks the earth and dresses this way. I can retain my name and my reputation, sort of like a Tina Turner kind of thing.
I mean, come on, you got an image.
I didn't want any of the settlement money. I just wanted to be left alone, to be creative, to be Felipe Rose, to be still called one of the original co-founders and original members. And I'm good. I'm good with that. And so at the end of the day, I wish everyone well, but I'm happy. I'm smiling, and I'm the one that danced last. And so now I'm dancing again. Oh, yeah. That's
so wait, before you did dancing again.
Last one dancing and dancing again.
Before you talk about dancing again, I remember you did Going Back to My Roots as well. Was that the first single you stepping as Felipe now?
That was actually my 4th single because the first one was in 2000 when I wrote and produced the Trail of Tears, the retelling of the forced removal of the Cherokee Nation. And then at the NAMMYs, I opened up the show at the Native American Music Awards. It's on Trail of Tears. It's on my YouTube channel. And then that night picked up my first Native American Music Award for Best Historical Recording. Then the second year, I then released We're Still Here from a book I read of the contemporary Indians in this country, and that we're still here, but yet you can't really see us, but we're here. We live amongst you.
You're here.
We live among you today in this real world called the United States. And so the song We're Still Here was really heavily infused with dance. And I brought in a couple of artists, hip hop native artists. And then that picked up Song of the Year with the NAMMYs. Then I did a third trifecta where I produced while I was already living in Richmond, Virginia. And I produced and wrote an album called Red Hawk Woman of the life and times of Thomasina E. Jordan, who represented the 8 unfederated tribes in Virginia. And basically it was a story about her life in song, spoken word, and hip hop and poetry. And that one picked up like 5 awards. So then when Going Back to My Roots happened, and here we are, moved forward to 2017, in 18s, my fans were so pissed off and so upset that they were witnessing another group with another replacement and a new group. And the only thing I could do to let them know that I'm okay was to record Going Back to My Roots, which is a remake from the old group Odyssey. They're still around, Odyssey, the native New Yorker. And they sang that song, and it was written for them, Sandy Litzer, and Richie Havens. But it was produced by Michael Narada Walden. And so this version that I did of Going Back to My Roots, I then brought in some more native artists. And then that basically told my story as I went out in 18 and 19 to tour. And that was in my show. And then I just stopped in 19. I couldn't do 2 things, the litigation or tour. So I took that year off. And into 20, I went out and then went out again to perform on that cruise. And that's when I came back with the bug. Okay, I want to do this again. But it's a song, Dance With Me, that reflects the times that we're living in. That, I wanted a message this message to be heard loud and clear, that no matter if we coming out of lockdown, we need to dance. In life, we need to dance. If we go back into another lockdown, don't forget to dance again, because that's really the most important thing that the body and the soul needs. It's music, dance, and joy. And then the kindness that you treat yourself with and everyone else, So there it is in a nutshell.
Yeah, you pretty much covered it. So when you go out now,
pretty much covered it.
I mean, you pretty much. I'm trying to cover as much as I can to give the people an understanding of the what you're dealing with as running a professional company, because you are a brand.
An international trademark for
you are a brand,
and everything that you have to work at, and it's not a picnic. And there were times I didn't want to go into an office in New York City. There were times that I had to call a meeting every Friday or every Wednesday midweek so that we can catch up on the week beginning and catch up on what needs to be done in the internationally in shows. You work on contracts, you do your interviews, you do your video greetings. I mean, there's so much that went into keeping that trademark and keeping the group going. But we all pitched in. Everyone had a role. And
Felipe, when Jacques died, Jacques Morali died, did the Can't Stop Productions die as well with it? Or did that keep going? And then how did that work with you guys taking over?
We broke up when it ended. Yeah, it ended in 85. We broke up. And then in 87, I received a phone call from where I don't know where I was. I think I was in my house on the down in Gateway Plaza, down there in Lower Battery Park City. And there was a call from Randy Jones telling me that they were all in a rehearsal hall with the guys, that they were thinking of putting it together again. And in 85, when I left, I said I didn't want to do it again. And they said, no, we're going to get together. We're just waiting for you to say yes. So they trapped me. So we got back together, and this time we ran the show ourselves. We put the company together as SIXUVUS, 6 of Us Limited, also known as Village People. And we went off and bankrolled our own show, and then we stayed on tour till 2017.
Aha! Now I wanted to understand.
I'm exhausted.
I'm good. No, I want that inside. I wanted the inside track because, again, nobody knows that stuff. Only you guys know that because you lived it. But
you live and you learn, and
wait.
ups and downs.
85, 86, 87. When did it stop? Like you said, you took a break. You in Gateway Plaza down in Barry Park City.
It broke up for only 2 years, and then when we got back together again, then suddenly Randy only lasted another 2.5 years, and he left. We replaced him with one guy, and then it just kept going all these years. When one member got tired, and replaced him with another one. We lost Glenn, sadly, and he passed away of cancer. 2 packs of cigarettes a day. Dude, really. Nobody wanted to drive in the car with him because he smelled like a cigarette, He literally would drive days ahead of a concert so that he could smoke in the car because you couldn't smoke on the plane either.
He was a true chimney.
By the time we would fly into town, he was already half baked, and and back sore back from sleeping in his car. But anyway, that's who he was. He was a great guy. And we kept it going all these years, and we had fans around the world. We had countries that we fell on during hard times.
See, because that's what everybody was wondering. Because again, the production team, Casablanca ends. There's a lot of things that happen at the same time.
Radio, suddenly it was taboo even to be in the group. And let me tell you something. I still have people. I still have gays, and I don't blame them. Ever since the head scratcher of Donald Trump playing YMCA, I have gays that tell me, I hate that song. And I go like this, hey, I didn't write it, and he's using it, permission granted somewhere else, but I like the money.
It's like this cha-ching, cha-ching every time it's played.
Yeah. So I don't have any room to complain. I've lived a very charmed life. Knock on this wooden desk, mission desk. Very fortunate to have toured the world that many times, 5 passports, and to have met royalty, people from all walks of life, and to have really enjoyed myself. So I'm really actually taking my time. I've got some shows this month, some small appearances that I'm doing, but I'm kind of enjoying where I am right now, sitting here, talking with you, sharing my story with my life with you guys. This actually will be one of the very last podcast interviews I'm doing. So, Mr. Fontana.
Yeah, he said that to me. He said,
"You're so very lucky.
I ain't doing nothing more." And let me tell you why. Look at the reason why. Look at his grace with his star. You see what I'm saying? That's OG to me. And a doll. He's wonderful.
Thank you. No, thank you. But I've been doing interviews literally when the song came out and exploded on the internet, literally around the world, doing interviews since Memorial Weekend. And so
I know.
I really haven't
I waited.
Anything.
I waited.
I haven't planned anything. And then was also doing my Disco Chronicles show. And then I'm like right now trying to figure my way through the music video where we stopped again. And I'm sort of, because I'm so hands on everything, it's terrible that I know what I want, but if it's not there, I don't want to keep going. Let's just stop and reboot. So this is where we're at right now. We're on a pause. Midsummer.
Again, a pause, another pause, right?
The thing is that, again, I didn't really anticipate at all for the song to explode like that and what have you. And so it was just a message to the world of how I was feeling. Let me put it out there. This is where we are right now. And now the interest is coming back, percolating to tour and perform again. And so I've got some Jersey City on the 14th with the LGBT Jersey City Pride. It's the Fringe Fest. So I do my part in helping. I'm from Jersey City anyway. Helping a lot of the LGBT groups, around the country with interviews and things like that. And then I've got a private party in Long Island. Then I've got my out of town tryout, which is what I like calling it. So the longer show, I'm test driving it out on Staten Island at Studio 54's Pastels. It's like Studio 54. It's huge. It's got the stage, the lights. It's all Italians, and I'm going to go and I'm going to...
Oh, wait a minute. That's what I wanted to ask you.
Give them a slice of disco.
Where was the first performance, Village People, you guys did? The first performance. Oh. Come on. That's a crazy question. That's a...
Les Mouches?
Was it Les Mouches or was it...
Harrah's.
Oh, Harrah's.
Harrah's. Was it there?
I don't know. I'm asking you. You gotta tell me. I don't.
It was either there or 2001.
Because Rafi D, I think Rafi D said you guys performed a few times at Odyssey 2001, right?
Yeah, and with Fran Jolie, it was 16.
Yeah. I think maybe one of the, if not the second or first performance, if Rafi D was on right now, I'd ask him. I think he said maybe that was the first club or second performance. I'm not sure. I don't remember. But I've been wanting to ask you that.
Well, you're taking me back, and that's a long way to go, to remember that far back.
But at least you remembered. At least you remembered.
Well, no, I know one of them. I don't know exactly which one. I'm not really good with dates. Like Mary Lou Henner can tell you if it was a Tuesday and what shirt you were wearing. Like,
that's crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah, she's great. She's a great gal. Yeah, we've met some really amazing people, in this life. And so the one really crazy picture that keeps circulating the internet a lot is the one with Michael Jackson, Jane Fonda.
Yeah, I got that. Let's show that. Look at that picture.
and Bruce Jenner. Hi, Caitlin.
I love Jane Fonda. She looks fabulous in that show now. She does with Lily Tomlin.
Yeah, she sent me the colorized version of that. She sent it to me and tagged me through Instagram. Yeah, Lily Tomlin is wonderful too. She is. I met her a few years ago in Palm Springs at the Night of 1,000 Stars or something like that. A big AIDS benefit.
Yeah, that's been circulating. So that's saying, look, so that you want to talk about star power and royalty. Look at the people you got your hand around. Your hands around all the right people.
Well, I was on one knee and Jane is sitting on my.
Yeah, I know. I get it.
Yeah. And Valerie's still sweet. She has MS right now, and so I saw her 2 years ago, and then I just popped a picture up on my Facebook page. And there's a really wonderful documentary done by Stacy Souther and the Arrowcats that are financing this documentary on the life of Valerie Perrine. And so if you get a chance, check it out, guys. It's a really beautiful story of beautiful actress, and she's so kind, and we're still good friends.
Aw.
Last time I saw her, I took her an orchid, and I took her some pot. Yeah! She was laying in bed. I go, Felipe, thank you. It's so great, you know. But it's again to be in the grace of something like that, where what she's going through only makes my life even just more gracious. To really be blessed with that. If you don't have your health, you have nothing. You have to have your health first, your mental stability, because there's a lot of people I know that are still not well. The funny thing that I learned about COVID is that I realized how much I really don't like people. So I mean that in a funny way, because I don't really throw myself out. I'm still sort of only pockets of groups of people that I was socializing with last year. And I've expanded my horizon a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's people are very different now in the way they communicate.
Well, you notice everyone has a lot of time in their hands, so you're actually slowed down enough to really see what's going on around you. That's the difference.
That's very interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah. So we have because we were all in.
You were like, oh, you were looking at things like, how dare they?
Things that we took for granted, or just swiped to the right or to the left, and just kept going. Now we just look at stuff and go, wow. One thing I don't do, I don't like posting my personal. If I cut a finger, I'm not putting that up on social media. Or something personal happen. I don't keep. I try to keep it fun, and when people get silly, I have to correct them. Lately, people have been mailing merchandising to my house, which is a no-no. And if you
wait,
I have a PO box. I have a.
I thought you don't want no merchandise.
No, my personal home. So if people mail stuff to my home, no, they won't get it. They're not getting it. I'll send it off somewhere else. Yep. Whoa. There's a PO box. There's on the Felipe Rose.
Is there a reason why you don't want to have to your personal home? Is there a particular?
Because people are crazy. People are stalkers, and I've had a few of those in my life.
This is why we're asking. There's always.
I've had stalkers.
How bad?
Well, it was that one was really out of control, and for some reason I love Facebook for that reason. I said, "Oh my God!" And Jess, I have a stalker, and people like freaked out and said, "Are you serious? You need to take care of that." And they were like, it just turned into a whole. I had to go to the police station and file papers, and they said, "Don't take this light." A news reporter friend of mine, he's always on News 12. He texts me, said, "You all right? You want to talk about us?" And no, I don't want to get on TV and talk.
Well, he's on TV right now. You're telling us on Lenny Fontana's.
No, please. I want to be stalked by a cute guy, not like some crazy woman who's in love.
Oh, is a woman stalking you?
Madly in love. She was scary.
No.
She was scary.
Yo, is this like
holiday crying and the world to me, and I'm gonna kill myself. You know, it's like it was really bad. It was like, oh, she's gone. Thank God, she's gone. So anyway,
Oh my God.
My mohawk is crooked. So listen, I don't know if people are watching us. Can they see? People?
Of course they're watching. They're watching around the world. We're so thrilled. Everybody's writing in, thanking you. You always see how you shock us every moment with something fresh.
Oh, okay.
Now I didn't know anything about those Stalker. I didn't see.
I'm sure that everyone has one. I mean, you may not necessarily feel that you might not. You probably have had it.
But what? Wait.
What constitutes a stalker?
Yes. Give me what happened? What do they do?
They start to write to you and they start to tell you that they are waiting to have dinner with you, or they're starting to like react to the fact that you didn't call them on Christmas, and then there's crying behind it, and it's like, whoa.
Did you actually know the person?
They got it off of my through Facebook, because you can find someone's phone number.
Sure, of course. But I'm saying
I have a Google number, and that's all you're gonna get now.
Well, right. But I'm saying is
you have my personal number.
There's a difference. We're all in the. Thank you, everyone, and we know why. We all work together. We know we may not maybe work together, but we have a professional courtesy to each other. We know not to give each other's numbers out. That's just the way it rolls. But in this case. This is interesting now. She's calling, you're not responding. She's sending you messages, and you probably look at them going, oh, please, whatever.
Yeah, I would save the messages, and then I would not get
oh, please, whatever.
No. Then I had to report where she was living, and I found out that she was living in a place for problem adults and all that.
Oh, okay.
So it was really someone very disturbed. But I had to finally put a stop to it.
See, now here's the thing. You know, yesterday I was watching that old Michael Douglas movie, Fatal Attraction. You know, and I said this, when that movie came out, it made people think about cheating. Like, really?
I was rattled when I woke up.
Yes, everybody was. I was rattled watching that.
I had to go get a drink.
Right. You get to a moment where you
play clothes.
Thank you. You say to yourself, oh my God, this can really happen. This can really happen to anybody, gay, straight, whatever. You know, you get someone, it could be a one-night affair. And in your case, of course, thank God, we're laughing about it. Nothing really happened. But let's be real, shit really happens. I mean, you hear about this stuff, people getting killed and things like that. And, you know, when you mentioned about having this, I'm like, what? You have that?
It wasn't the first time. I had 2 or 3.
Well, especially when you're public car.
One in LA, and you know, yeah. So I mean, you know, it's really how you react. The more you react, the more you keep them in play. The more you react to what they're saying, the better it is for them. You got a reaction out of me. So the thing is to not react and ignore. Okay, now it's continuing, and so. You file a police report, and if you're lucky enough to know where they are, they get sent to them. And also, officers will knock on your door. So, you know, for that reason, because a lot of the people on Facebook, fans and friends that I know, they gave me great advice. They said, don't. You need to don't treat it as a light post that you just said, oh, I think I have a stalker. You have a stalker. This is not good. And so, thank you for the community work we do together.
Right. You just happen to let me just put this out there and see how this responds.
I don't know that day. I was having coffee. I think I've got a stalker, you know, having my coffee.
Here, I'm drinking cafe, everybody. I think I got a stalker. What do you all think I should do?
Yeah.
That's what I do. And Facebook.
Now, you know, we need to we be concerned with our lovely friend Linda Clifford and all her coffee in the morning, because like I rattle now just looking at her posts, because everything is coffee. And so I make my coffee now and think of her every morning.
Linda Clifford was a fabulous. She's just a class act. And watching her, of course, with her coffee in the morning, she leaves all those posts. I'm just starting my day with my coffee, or I'm just having my coffee.
Well, sometimes they're coffee and they're scary posts too.
Yeah, she's angry. She's clarifying what she's feeling right now. She's letting you know. But that's, I guess, that's the world we live in now. You know, years ago, you didn't have that sounding board like that. When you were angry,
no, and it's come in handy. I mean, I also did some speaking to a therapist online as well during my post-traumatic stress disorder after losing my producer in August of last year and Warren Gluck in June. DJ Warren Gluck.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, God bless him. And so for that, I was able to use this platform and the social media and actually speak to someone a couple of times, and it's good. So if for anything, if it's used right the way we're using it, it's great. But the internet, sadly, is scary. And you can't believe everything you read on the internet, folks. Free Britney!
Free Britney. I know.
So I have a thing now that I say off the cuff for no reason at all, only because it sounds funny. Debbie Gibson.
Only in my dreams.
I just say people.
Debbie Gibson, only in my dreams.
Wonderful Debbie Gibson, you know. She was the Taylor Swift of our time.
And to everyone, Shesha La Femme.
That's right. That's right. I love some Corey Day.
At the powwow.
She's like, gonna have a powwow. Oh, pass the peace pipe.
Peace pipe. Ooh.
All that. I wanted to record that song, but I said, nah, better not.
So yeah. So now we're going to be at Pastels. You're going to keep going and in the summer, and then hopefully keep our fingers crossed we don't go into some sort of lockdown. We will be watching what you're doing, and we will be always supporting you. And
Thank you.
We're always big fans of you. And put that in the... Oh, one other question. How long does it take you to get ready with putting on... Do you still do the makeup and stuff like you used to do?
I don't do the makeup per se. No. I put on my roach, my mohawk, my jewelry, my vest. Yeah, I mean, if I was going to get back into the loincloth with the chaps and all that and the G-string going up the crack of my... and doing that took a lot longer. But now I just throw on like buckskin pants with fringe and all that. It takes me about a good hour plus. But it's also mentally, I get mentally ready to perform and hit the stage. And I have to always prepare myself. I can't do a long meet and greet because then I get exhausted.
Do you still have the original headdresses that you wore back in the...
No. Matter of fact, I found one. I was cleaning one of the... I used one of the showers off my office. Behind the curtain has a makeshift things for props and banners and like Comic-Cons and things like that. And left a headdress in a cloth bag and not in a plastic bag, not in a cloth bag. And when I took it out, it disintegrated on me. Yeah, I cried. I wrapped it up. I'll figure something, a proper burial for it or whatever. But I have all that other stuff upstairs in an oak lined what is it? Cedar closet inside cedar closet. All of the suede and buckskins and all that.
Well, the feathers that you have in those dresses, what bird do they come from?
Well, those are not real eagle feathers. Those are imitation eagle feathers.
Imitation.
They are made by native people. Crazy Crow is one of them. Yeah.
Okay, so you're not actually wearing
everything I have, or my dad makes all my jewelry, all my stuff. So anyway, I want to thank you, Lenny.
Bye.
I just want to say that how long is this show going to continue? Are you going to continue through the summer?
We keep going. We're already 54. You're the 54th or 55th episode already. We're already a year already.
So you don't a year, but you don't take a break. You don't do like a season.
No,
break?
We haven't done a season break yet because we're actually finding that we're going to be going prime time soon. So I'm just keep rolling forward.
Okay, all right, that sounds great.
If anything, eventually what will happen is I'll do some pre-tapings and then schedule them on the certain dates when we have to take time off. Or maybe at this point we could rerun shows, for God's sake. We got so many shows now.
That's true. Yeah, actually, you could do that too. Yeah, but the way you pop them out, I mean, they're like, all your babies. And some really great lineups, some really great guests you have.
Fantastic. And it's all different parts of the music industry. It's great. Right. But we definitely have to say a huge, humongous thank you. Big hug and thank you again. And I will definitely see you, hopefully before the summer's out. Maybe I'll maybe I'll come to Pastels and see you. Or you'll.
Oh, that would be fun.
I think you're this weekend, right? This Saturday, right?
No, the 28th. The 28th. I'll put all that up on social media.
Put everything up. Watch Felipe Rose. Keep your eye on him. He still has a lot of energy and a lot of power and still a lot more to prove to all of us that he's got staying power.
Thank you.
He's not going nowhere, everyone.
Thank you. Everyone should just check out the website, www.feliperose.com. The single is Dance Again. The Disco Chronicles on the YouTube channel, official YouTube channel. Marcia Stern's probably watching us, and that's another angel in our lives.
Icon, Marcia Stern. She was
Robbie Leslie, love him too.
Robbie.
Lenny, I want to thank you again.
All right. Disco Cruises, he's got to get that. He's got to get his voice back. He's got to get powers. He's got to get ready. He's getting ready. Thank you so much, Felipe. Everyone around the world, thank you for tuning in to True House Stories. Catch you next week. Love you all. Good night. Stay with us, Felipe. I want to thank you. And thank you again, everyone. Take care.